Jen, please entertain the crowd with who is Representative Jared Moskowitz.
Okay, so Jared Moskowitz is the representative of the district, the congressional representative district, like north of us. And that seat was occupied for many years by Ted Deutsch, who now works for whatever AIPAC related type of subsidiary that he works for. So
Ted
now
Deutsch
we've got
basically works side by side with Mr. Greenblatt of the AD.
Right. So this seat, of course, then got bequeathed to the son of basically a wealthy Dem bundler donor person here. And now the person who's sitting there is the son of said person. And Jared Moskowitz, this is the thought that these are the Jews in Congress that represent, not just represent South Florida, but represent Jews in general. Like, this man is seeking to have Rashida Tlaib censured for thinking that we can't trust the information that's just being handed to us, and we should have an investigation into the hospital bombing in Gaza. He actually said that she refuses to accept, and that's the refuses to accept. And what he's talking about are the talking points handed down by basically the State Department or whoever is handing out the talking points. And so he thinks she should be censured for seeking an investigation into something. Could he be more fascist? Like, it's unbelievable to me. And this is, and like, now we're not even allowed to investigate things.
Jared Moskowitz has been in Congress for a hot minute, and he's put himself in hot water several times already.
What was the other? Insider trading. Including
being called out by Unusual Whales for his stock trading policies. So far, not so good. In addition to that, he's not hid in any way, shape, or form his disdain for the working class left. He represents both Boca Raton and Parkland, Florida.
Right. Like, as you can imagine, his big issue is wearing orange and gun control. That's basically the talking point for anybody from Parkland.
He represents a very wealthy district. Not that the district doesn't have very working class areas, but it is essentially known that Boca Raton and Parkland, the two wealthiest suburbs in South Florida outside of Miami Beach, is basically where a lot of the political influence and money and power comes from. Those of you familiar with the likes of Fred Guttenberg, that is part of the district. And Mr. Guttenberg made it his mission to get Mr. Moskowitz into Congress. Mr. Moskowitz is very much like a Matt Gaetz. His father, his late father, was a very powerful political powerhouse, if you will, here in South Florida. And much like Mr. Gaetz's father, who helped him get into Congress, Mr. Moskowitz's father did the same for him before he passed away. And so now you're faced with another prospect of a young representative in a district that isn't as safe as some of the others.
Yeah, but he's 42. He's like 42. He's like 10 years younger.
But will certainly attempt to sit in that seat for as long as humanly possible. The problem that we have here in South Florida is, much like a lot of parts of the country, including where Katie currently lives and other parts like, we'll say, San Francisco, LA, the Jewish populations, while have an arc that bends towards strong levels of liberalism and working class ideology, is also stoked very heavily in Zionism. And that is something that is very common in South Florida. And so now you have not just Wasserman Schultz, who's our representative.
Now you've got Moskowitz, by the way, and he's on Fox News talking about this. The truth is, I don't think of him as a real Democrat. I mean, he's pretty Republican, but this is the quote that he gave on Fox. I continue to be disappointed in members of Congress who are not willing to listen to U.S. intelligence and listen to the Biden administration, who have said Israel had nothing to do with the issue that happened in the parking lot of the hospital. Oh, yes, that's right, Jared. We should just listen to them because they said so. I can't even.
we're going to
just listen to them.
We're going to get into it with the panel. One of the things we're going to obviously talk about is the president of the United States coming out saying, I don't trust the numbers of what the Palestinians are saying in terms of how many people have been slaughtered. And then people in Palestine proceeded to present an actual line item of all of the people that have been killed. This is a genocide.
But we're gonna trust numbers from the JDF.
No, we're not going to trust those numbers. And the good news is that even though this is a very risky part of the country to take a firm stand on this particular issue, it is absolutely necessary to do it, because if you don't do it, as you have said many times, history is going to be a very unkind judge to those who stood on the sidelines and watched literally thousands of people, in some cases thousands of people a day, get slaughtered. And not only are they being slaughtered, the bare minimum that they're even suggesting right now, which is an admission of an actual genocide, is that maybe we should allow the bare minimum of food and water to get in there. So what they're admitting is that, yes, they are systematically killing the people that are living in Gaza.
Well, and I honestly think that the things that have been set in motion when you deprive people of resources and housing and water and like all these things, that even, let's say, you keep sending in aid, that the exponential damage. That the whole thing is absurd. So you're sending $100 million of aid, but you're sending $100 billion to bomb them. The cognitive dissonance is just off the charts to me. And yeah, I feel like I'm living in, this is really like the Biff Tannen universe in the Back to the Future. Like I'm in the bizarro world.
But you really have to give it to Rashida Tlaib. She basically had to come to terms with the reality that, yes, this may ultimately cost her political career, but she doesn't care, because the people, her people, are too important. And at least somebody on Capitol Hill decided that doing the humane thing is more important than doing the self-serving thing. Something a lot of our representatives, including ours, can learn from.
Well, and by the way, the fact that not a single Jewish person in Congress is standing up on this.
And there's quite a few of them.
Oh yeah, there's lots of them. There's a lot that people just don't even know, that are just, people that are there, but not a single Jewish person can seem to find their way to take the right stand on this in Congress.
And rightfully so.
I find it infuriating. I'm like, I can barely not yell. Like I'm so angry.
Yeah.
I have so much anger.
And I honestly, I totally get the sentiment of where people are coming from. It is a very dreary time, to say the least.
I spent a whole hour in therapy yesterday, just like this. I am like, cannot stop being angry. Well,
that's also the whole concept about having something done in your name, which is something that I think a lot of people have a problem with. But as has been made clear, there are so many layers to this, including the connection between Netanyahu and Hamas and how the government has been funding it for quite some time. This, to me, almost seems like a setup, that this was deliberately orchestrated because the intention was always to get rid of the Palestinian people living in Gaza. And now they feel that they have their opportunity. The problem, of course, is that the general public is not buying it. They are very adamant that what is happening here is a genocide, no matter how many ways that they try to, brush it aside and say that it doesn't exist. It does exist, and it is insufferable how there are people who think that they're going to be able to get away with it going forward.
Thanks for watching. If you want to support our mission to transform politics into service, please like this video, subscribe, follow us on social media, and consider joining our Patreon, where you'll get early access to our interviews as well as other exclusive content. Links are in the description. Peace out.